Welcome to Psyche Magic, a podcast about self-discovery and the subconscious, where we explore the symbolic language of dreams, tarot, and archetypes. I'm your host, Jordan Hale. I'm a psychotherapist based in Nashville, Tennessee. Each episode, I'll hold a casual conversation with various artists and healers about their shadow work practices. We pull tarot cards, unpack a significant dream or dream theme, and discuss their personal healing arts practices. So please grab a cup of something delicious and stay a while. While aspects of this podcast may feel therapeutic, it is never meant to take the place of therapy. Welcome back to Psyche Magic. It feels so good to be making an episode of the show again after taking a bit of a rolling hiatus. From the birth of my daughter Iris 2 years ago to our family moving houses here in Nashville back in December, in a lot of ways, I feel like I am just now coming back up for air. But in the thonic underground portal of my transition into motherhood, I am emerging feeling like I have something to say to the world that's mine, where historically I've felt more comfortable as an arts adjacent person or a patron, someone who was more comfortable lifting up others in their work as an offering. I'm reading Writing, Creativity, and Soul by Sue Monk Kidd, and she talks about attending a writing seminar taught by the one and only Audre Lorde, who gives her this seminal piece of wisdom. The biggest challenge to overcome with your writing has to do with summoning the bravery to tell the truth. Or as another one of my writing idols, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, puts it, to say the thing that feels dangerous. For me, walking through the trial by fire that is motherhood has felt quite unexpectedly like an opportunity to step into my own sense of creative courage. In fact, I was deeply afraid I would lose myself in motherhood. But in truth, I feel like I'm finding the creative voice I've been searching for a long time. I'm writing about these experiences on Substack at Psyche Magic. I actually just hit 200 subscribers there, so thank you to everyone who already reads and follows along there. I'm thrilled to announce that I'm actually working on a nonfiction book proposal, where I make the argument that the transition from pregnancy through the first year of motherhood can be a powerful portal into strengthening your intuition and stepping more fully into your creative power. This process mirrors the task of establishing secure attachment with your baby. In meeting and showing up for their needs in a good enough way, we can also discover the courage and strength to show up for ourselves in ways we never have. So I am casting a quick spell and sending this out into the universe now. If you're listening and you know of a publisher or literary agent who might be interested in this type of nonfiction work, please let me know. This has translated to my psychotherapy practice as well, which is actually the subject of today's episode. I'm finding myself leaning further and further into truly being myself in the therapy room, which means bringing these more intuitive aspects of my work and practice there as well. I got trained in Reiki earlier this year and have loved incorporating this beautiful and gentle energy healing modality into my work. If you'd like to book a Reiki session, either in person or virtually, you can now do so on my website, jordanhale.net/Reiki. I also had a lot of fun designing a course called Introduction to Jungian Experiential Dream Work, which I got accredited by NBCC for 2 CEUs towards continuing education for therapists. But the course is also available virtually for anyone who's interested. The link to that can be found at abundanthopetherapy.com under their self-paced CE trainings. I link to this via all my socials as well. And lastly, I am offering another one of my Jungian Active Imagination virtual workshops on Monday, August 25th at 7 p.m. Central Time via Zoom. These workshops are so fun and generative. We play around with different methods of mining the subconscious for creative material and inspiration, such as automatic writing and tarot and parts work. And at the end of the workshop, we end with an inner child meditation to reconnect to a favorite childhood art form. So I hope you'll join us for that in August. Now, on to the episode. I had the absolute honor and pleasure of speaking with Heather Cooper Sellers, a fellow psychotherapist who has expanded her practice and offerings into psychism and intuitive readings. She was so generous and thoughtful and connected. I really felt so nourished by our conversation, and I hope you all feel it too. Heather Cooper Sellers. Welcome to Psyche Magic.
Thank you.
I'm so glad you're here.
I'm so glad to be here.
Yes, I'm so excited. This has been, kind of a long time coming. Not a long time, but certainly this seed has been germinating for a little bit. And I'm really, really stoked to be sitting with you today.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm going to have you go ahead and just introduce yourself, if you would, for the audience. Just let listeners know a little bit about who you are and what you do.
I am a psychotherapist in private practice, and I have been doing that work for close to 25 years. I work really long-term with people, and I do a significant amount of couples work and also just individual work with beloved humans that I tend to really track with across a significant period of time. So there are people that I've known and been with for 20 years at this point, which feels like such a great gift in terms of tracking with life cycles and all the phases that we move through. In the last 5 years or so, I have started bringing more concrete intuitive healing, intuitive readings into my work as well. It's felt like a little bit of an offshoot. And so that's something that I have been growing in. I find a lot of joy and play in that space, which has been really meaningful.
I love, love, love getting the opportunity to sit with other therapists who feel called to doing more of this intuitive and or energetic work.
Yes.
Just knowing that I, too, am feeling that pull and that I really feel the need for community around it and not feeling like I'm just floating around in this ocean by myself trying to figure this out.
Well, I think it's such an orientation that feels really hopeful to me in the sense that the longer we're in this work, the hope is that there is more of a connection to what we're internally aware of and connected to. And so there's kind of reaching further and further inside that I think is lovely.
Love it. We're going to get into the intuitive side of your practice and how you began getting in touch with that, because that's just so fascinating to me. Before we do that, let's practice some intuitive work right now, and let's pull a tarot card.
Perfect.
Now, while I kind of shuffle and get ready, you have quite a tarot practice. Tell me about that. Tell me about how you engage with tarot and what it means to you.
I go through rhythms, I feel like, that are somewhat seasonal. Probably 2 or 3 times a year, I will go into a deeper dive. But generally speaking, I pull cards really concretely for every month.
Okay.
At the beginning of the year, I will pull cards for the year. Sometimes I will bring, and this is what ends up happening maybe 2 or 3 times a year, a particular inquiry that I will then stay with for probably 6 to 8 weeks, where I'm just kind of going deeper into the same question and then letting whatever I'm drawing kind of impact where I'm going with the inquiry. I'm currently actually creating my own oracle deck, which has been so fun.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, I have like 25 cards, and it's something that I'm creating a card every week of this year. I really track with cards similar to the dream work. I'm just so touched by how like these visions and certain language can give us such a beautiful take on what all is going on inside.
Okay, I want to hear more about your oracle deck because that's so exciting. Are you doing the artwork yourself?
No.
Okay, I was curious
I
about
am
that piece.
using these unbelievably gorgeous stickers that I'm getting from all kinds of places. And I am using a theme each week. And then I create this like collage on these cards. And I am telling you, they are bringing me so much joy. It's been one of the best like rituals that I've included this year for sure.
Okay.
So more to come on that.
I was going to say, I am so thrilled because collage is one of my favorite forms of art making. And I do consider it art making because
It is.
I'm taking found objects and images and ideas and making something new.
I know.
And that is art, baby.
It is.
Yeah.
It is art. And it's like it's a low cost of entry. Like it feels
True.
like it's like this doesn't feel overwhelming to me. Like here's how I can really like move into this creative space.
Yes, like just making it accessible, making it doable now, not waiting for some skill set or some perfect medium or whatever. Yeah, that's speaking to me. Let's see what the cards have to say.
Yes.
Okay, so I found one. Oh, look who we got. Page of Cups. Oh, love him.
Uh-huh.
He's just such a little cutie. And like the little fish,
So sweet.
Just always gets me. So I like to get just initial gut take, right? Like just immediately, intuitively, what shows up for you. And then we'll just kind of play.
I am loving this hand on hip vibe. I'm also loving this like groundedness, like the feet are planted. But there's also, of course, the watery experience right behind this beloved. And so there's something for me of like being grounded and also being really connected to close to flow state. I also really love the like, there's like an offering here, like the hand on hip, the extended arm. It's lovely. I love the colors of that deck as well, too. I find it really
So do I.
soothing.
So do I. Yes. Rider-Waite-Smith, baby. Heather, I don't know that I've heard this very often. Like the way that you engage with this card in terms of the actual like body position of the figure. And it feels like such an interesting synchronicity for me because I actually just participated in a weekend-long tarot conference, the Summer Solstice Summit. My dear friend hosted the tarot diagnosis. Shannon Knight puts it on every year. And I did an exercise for my talk where I had us pull a tarot card and then position our body in accordance to the card's positioning and just like feel the felt sense of holding that stance.
Yes.
And it was so fascinating. Like it reminded me of—
I love the synchronicity of that.
Yeah. So just knowing that you're picking up on something that I've been thinking a lot about is like, what would it be like to hold this card in my body and not just my mind?
Well, there is really, I mean, the stance feels like really powerful and also very like, here's how I'm showing up, here's what I have to offer.
Whenever I draw page cards, I always return to that sense of, okay, where or in what area of my life am I needing to channel some of that beginner's mind?
The learner, right?
Yes. So no matter how long I've been at something or working my way around something, can I find that little spark of like newness, beginning? And so, yeah, this card is calling us towards that in something with the realm of water, which is the realm of the subconscious.
Right.
The emotions.
Right.
So I don't know. For me, he feels like a little bit of like a cheerleader for us today. We're going to be exploring some of those unconscious waters.
Yeah.
And he's like, you got this. Let's play. Let's be beginners.
Yeah, I like the learning, the beginner's mind linked up with also in that space, like having something to offer. Because we certainly do, like being in that space offers so much in terms of just the openness and the receptivity. I love this card.
Beautiful. Me too.
So beautiful. And I just love the cups.
I love the cups too.
I love the holding. I mean, I feel like I've always really intimately connected with the cups. So
me too. I mean, you said it, receptivity, like just cultivating that orientation. It is like a form of mindful practice where like I return to this over and over. Some days I really drop into it. I really feel it. Some days it's a lot harder.
I know.
No matter how long I've been at it, that's just the ebb and the flow.
It's so true.
I'm wondering if now might be an interesting time to talk about your intuitive gifts and how you feel like you were able to start tapping into them. You said this was 5 years ago-ish that you started incorporating this a bit more. I would just love to hear anything you want to share about how that came about.
Well, I will say that a little bit before that, so when I was pregnant with my second child, who's now 7, I really found that pregnancy for me was a uniquely like opened up time intuitively and otherwise. And I had a beloved friend and colleague that we sort of connected during my pregnancy and then in Lucian's infancy. We were doing, I mean, it was such a lovely dynamic because she would come and just like sit with me as I'm tending to my little baby that he was having a very hard time that first year, which was really an intense time for me, who had always been sort of a baby whisperer. And I was not.
Got it.
With him.
Yeah, not in this case.
Not in this case.
Yep. Okay.
So talk about being a learner and beginner and really grappling with like not being able to fix or soothe or which was, time of great stretching.
That's like. Yeah,
yes.
I know what
so
that's like. Brings up a lot.
It brought up a lot. So this beloved and I would practices together. In the beginning, sort of, I mean, we were literally reading books about like, how do you do intuitive readings? How do you open the space inside you? So we were kind of creating our own class as we went. And so that then kind of morphed into, the realities of what it's like to be bouncing a baby on a ball, sitting and nursing for hours at a time. Like that did in some ways open itself up to a lot of talking and sharing and growing in this way. It wasn't until he got a bit older that I started like actually practicing. And with that, I would pull cards for close-in friends and, do readings of that nature. And then about 3 years ago, I decided to expand that just a little bit. And so I have this WhatsApp advice column that is very low tech, where people write questions, send them to me, and I read them and then do intuitive readings around them. And that has been really sweet. The biggest gift of that has been just my expansion of having that as more of a practice. We'll go through seasons where I'll be getting lots of inquiries, and then it'll be maybe a couple of months that I'm not really hearing much. But in that time, I've done like over 200 responses. And whatever we practice, my insight grows, and it's really sweet.
I love this so much. I just want to relate with you about this sense of pregnancy bringing about like some of this connection, I guess I would say, to spirit, to whatever the word is that you use. But I too felt that. I felt this sense of like connection and communication with my daughter before she was born, especially for me, like right after she was born. I felt really strong messages coming through from her. Like powerful stuff that I still draw on to this day, that still resonates to this day. So there was something about that portal for me too, that I'm still processing and trying to write about and like wanting to explore. Yeah. So just had to name that. Yeah. You were kind enough to send me a few of your recordings from your WhatsApp column, and I got to, hear and feel that sense of, we said this with Page of Cups, like receptivity, like stillness, openness, and just letting what I understood to be mostly, or at least like the catalyst for a lot of this information for you sounded like it came through an image or a symbol that you then can feel into, right?
Yes. That feels like my primary channel.
Yes.
At times, there will be like very specific sentences or words that will come through, but I tend to work or receive in that way, where it's like there is a visual and then there's kind of my interpretation or response to that.
I love hearing your consistency in like receiving in that way and knowing that like I can trust that this is how the information is going to come through. I can just hear the like seasonedness of that for you. Yeah. And it was just really inspiring.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
And really, it's fun to remember that it didn't always, like, it was much more wobbly. I felt much more wobbly at first, obviously, but I also felt free to be wobbly because these were people that I knew and loved. And it was just like kind of a practice. And then a practice that I feel so trusting of it.
Beautiful. I'm curious if this makes its way into your therapy practice at all.
I think it really does. I don't know that this work would be possible long term if I didn't feel a lot of congruence. Like who I am as a therapist really is who I am in my life. I am not going to be somebody that's like holding back certain things or like that doesn't feel congruent for me. And so many of the people that I work with therapeutically know about this part of my life and work. And certainly at times I will do readings for people. It feels like there's, thankfully, like that intuitive sense is always at work. And what I know or feel is always informing.
Makes sense. I think there has been a real shift in the last like handful of years towards just folks feeling more open to the mystery, to the intuitive. And I want to talk about this more as we go because it seems like part of what we're seeing is that these systems that have been on the forefront, right? The systems of patriarchy, the systems of late stage capitalism that are all rooted in these very concrete, like masculine.
Yes.
And I use masculine not as a like biologically gendered term.
Sure. Oh, sure.
But as like an energetic term. And so,
orientation.
Yes. And so this idea that like everything must be logical, rational, evidence-based, diagnosable, and that what we're learning and seeing in real time is that those systems are breaking down because they're not expansive enough to hold us.
No.
We're so much more.
We're so much more. And I think in some ways, and this feels really tender and sad, and also it just feels very real. Like I think humans are more desperate. And in that desperation, there is an openness to, like, there's a need for more.
Yes.
Like, okay, I'll try that.
Yes.
Why wouldn't I? And I feel like
what I'm doing isn't working.
Sure.
So let's try something else.
And the way people have been thinking that this A plus B equals C, it's like all of that is so brittle and it's falling apart,
Yep.
And so in the midst of collapse, what we're needing is this more whole holding that's going to ask of all of us skills that are really primitive and old and have been here all along, but we haven't known how to access or grow them because, of course, so often we're so disconnected from elders and
and our bodies. And each other.
Exactly.
Yes. I think a really important facet of this conversation is that some of that desperation that we're sensing in our clientele, in our communities, within the people that we love.
Yes.
Is that, we're asking for something more expansive, something more interconnected.
Yes.
And so I'm right with you. Like, I want to be able to bring that as a therapist and trust that, like, that is the healing thing that I can offer, because that's who I am.
Yes.
It's what matters to me. So I love hearing you say that, and it just really helps me feel this sense of, okay, I'm not alone in this.
I mean, it's like this conversation feels like such a gift in that context, in the reminding of, like, we really aren't. And sometimes it can feel as though we are so alone. That is how the setup is.
Yep.
It's not real.
It's not real.
But sometimes we have to, like, really work to get back into the awareness that the connection is alive and here with us.
Yes. Let's go ahead and move into our dream portion of the conversation.
Love it.
Because we're talking about working with intuitive material, and dream work is just such a beautiful avenue into that, because we're working with symbol.
Sure.
And what does symbol do? Symbol reminds us that we are capable of holding multiple meanings and truths within one idea.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
A symbol in a dream can hold multiple layers of meaning. A symbol in a tarot card can hold multiple layers of meaning. Such a powerful reminder that we can be complex in that way, and that maybe is part of the healing function. So you brought this beautiful dream, and I'm just so excited to play around with it, right? There's no like, let's now interpret the exact meaning of this dream. No, we're going to just explore some of the symbols and just see what comes up, just because it's fun and interesting.
It's so fun.
Yeah. So if you wouldn't mind just giving us a little snippet of the dream.
I love this dream. It was just a couple of months ago that I had this dream, but I have been really, like, in my daily writing, like, I keep coming back to the colors in the dream, the imagery of the dream, and a certain phrase that came out of it. So the dream is that I am witnessing this space, and the space is an enclosed room that is not closed off. And so it was sort of like maybe octagon-ish in shape, but there's this way that, like, there are multiple doors leading off of it. The colors in the dream are so vibrant, like these deep, like, purples and, like, red, but more like on the blood red side of things, like very royal. As I shared it with you, there's a Joni Mitchell album that was like some jazz standards, but the album was called Both Sides Now, and I think it came out like in, I think maybe like 2000. And there's an image of her that is the color story of the dream. And it's a drawing of her. And there's that blue and purple and everything. So it's like that's present in the dream. Like Joni, this image of her. There's a woman, a different woman, and there's like a chalice. And she's pouring this wine. But there's this very, like, again, like ritual. There's this royalty aspect to this. Like, and I'm witnessing this. And it's just so beautiful. And that's really, I mean, that's it.
Yeah. In terms of like content.
In terms of content.
But all of
But the feelings of it. And what I don't get into that I had shared with you, which just feels like kind of important for us to hold, but the dream transitioned to me seeing these other beautiful locations. And my impression when I woke up the next morning was very quickly like, I felt like I had had this like inner sanctum experience with myself. Like, this is my internal world. And what a beautiful landscape that I feel like the sacredness of what has been cultivated there. And I think that's why I keep going back to it, it's like it felt so rich. So
yes.
that's my telling of
Well,
my
and I
beautiful dream.
Oh, that's the thing. I can see that so much of the emotion of the dream that lingers is this almost like sense of awe and wonder of like how beautiful.
Yeah.
Like how beautiful this space is. And so you have conceptualized, right? I use that term like very loosely.
Sure.
You have conceptualized this dream as just sort of a visual map or landscape of your inner world, filled with these symbols, these feminine, magical symbols. And so let's talk about the symbols.
Yes.
Let's talk about Joni.
I love Joni. I love Joni's arc. I particularly love Joni's early music. And I've always been really drawn to Joni's early stories. She was beloved by so many. There was so much like fire and romance in her life and intensity there. And I love that. In my reading about her and tracking with her, like my sense of her feels like this woman like moved through life and relationships on some level with a real orientation to what she wanted and what she needed.
Yes.
And if the men that she moved on from were struggling, then, that was theirs to work with. And I find that inspiring in this world. We don't always feel welcome as heteronormatively gendered women to move through the world in that way.
That's right. The sense that I am connecting with as you speak about your relationship to her is this sense of like, wow, yes, to be, again, to use that word, sort of in awe of being in the presence of this woman who just like fully belongs to herself.
Yes. And I think the imagery, because the image, of course, in the dream is her older self. I mean, not to the age that she is now, but, well, and that's interesting because she probably would have been like in her 50s in this picture of her. And I'm 46. I think I'll be 47. Sometimes I get the exact numbers.
I'm always having to recalculate.
Wait, anyway, and so that's interesting because it's like the image of her, and as I step toward my 50s and what that feels like and looks like.
And so knowing that this is a representation of your internal world, the beauty of it that you have cultivated over your lifespan, and that Joni is here,
right,
blending with it and like and like inviting you into it. Right? And so you mentioned that there's this call or this question around, as someone who pours into others in every aspect of my life, someone who is called to do that.
Sure.
Right? We're not doing that in an unconscious or disconnected way. It's very authentic and connected. And how do I make space for myself?
Yeah. There's that other woman. And it strikes me that there's something about, I mean, how do I make space for that question? There's something about how, I value so much aspects of parts work. And I think, it's important to note that I'm glad that there are multiple parts within, because I think we need them all. Like there's a sense of, there's such a need for internal community around holding all that asks to be held. Like whether that's the work that we might be doing as parents, or the work that we might be doing in romantic relationship, or the work that we might be doing just in terms of holding our own selves. And so that just strikes me in this moment. Like, I'm glad that there's at least like a representation of two women that are offering something, but to me in the dream.
Yes, you're right. So that's the theme, is that both of these women are sort of like pouring into you.
Yes.
It's powerful.
On that note, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back.
You and I were talking about this a little bit off mic, and you brought up a little bit of this when you were talking about your intuitive work. But when I engage with this dream and when I think about your symbols, I really feel connected to that sense of what you were saying about how your intuitive work feels more playful and that it feels like it's full of possibility and lightness, and that there's something there. You and I were talking about like the therapist self and the kind of underside or like shadow side of the therapist self can be like the codependent.
Sure.
And the fixer.
Oh, yeah.
And so for me, like in my own work, tapping more into my intuitive self, tapping into energy work, that has felt like it is feeding me just as much as it's feeding the folks that I'm working with.
Yes.
And that feels like something that could be more sustainable to me for a long time than the version of me that got out of grad school and was like, okay, cool, I'm ready to go fix everybody. Let's do this.
Yeah.
This is my job. It's fix the world.
It's my chance. The job the job I was created for.
Right.
God.
Right. Only to find that like that turns out that's this big thing I need to actually heal and work on.
Turns out.
Yeah. Right. So I don't know if you have thoughts on that, but that just feels like the pull and the connection that I feel with this material.
Absolutely. Yeah. I was having an image of the like room, like the space that it has. It's like it has open space. Like it's enclosed but not closed off.
Right.
Which was the language that like, that's the language I keep going back to. And I feel like there's something about that feels connected to what you're naming here in terms of the possibility of codependency or possibility of fixing, where it's like there's an impulse, I think, for the giver to like not have any walls, to not have any barrier, to not, and it's just striking to me with this that there's a possibility for something to be like fluid and also contained. And I think that's an aspect of my experience of aging is like playing more with that and feeling the like beyond wisdom, like the necessity of that as a way to be oriented.
Yes. Now, this is taking me into our other dream theme.
Oh, yes.
Get ready. Drum roll, please, everyone. Overflowing toilet dreams.
Yes. No one likes having these.
I was going to say everyone's favorite. Yeah. Everyone's favorite.
Right.
And so we had a little meeting of the minds before this, and we were like, we're going to get into it. We're going to talk about it.
Yeah.
Even though it's gross. Even though it's like a part of me like doesn't want to talk about it. Because it's yucky.
And doesn't want to have that dream again, really.
No. Would love to banish it.
Exactly.
Would love to conquer it.
Right.
Once and for all. But when I hear you say that the giver, there's an expectation from that more sort of like codependent or fixer mindset of like the giver need not have any walls or boundaries. Sure. That feels really relevant to me because when I have dreams in the like sort of overflowing toilet world, for me, that symbol tends to show up as like a lack of privacy.
Oh, yeah.
Or boundary or a fear around like, how is this need that I have, right? This biological need to get rid of something that I don't need anymore. How is this going to like offend someone else or upset somebody? And so as you and I were talking about it, it was really clicking for me that has a lot to do with this work of like, can I be a human in the world that's allowed to be messy and have a process and not have to have it all buttoned up and figured out? And so for me, that really, I think what I'm starting to understand is that like, that's a lot of what that symbol is commenting on.
Absolutely.
It's like, you get to be messy too.
Right.
How did the toilet show up for you?
When I first worked with that dream, I was in analysis like multiple times a week. And this would have been in like the early 2000s. And I was a new therapist at that time. And so this was always really connected to like family of origin stuff. And in my experience of like, in air quotes, overflowing shit, other people's shit, the arc of it would be that I would need a bathroom. Like I would need to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
And there was nowhere to go.
No space.
That was clean enough, that wasn't overflowing. And it would be an experience, this tragic experience of like, you know, opening doors at like a public restroom and like there's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to go. And at the time, this beloved that I was working with, I love her and still hold her, really, speaking of internal community, like I feel her with me, in me. But, you know, she was just so helpful around like, oh, Heather, you know, there's nowhere for you to shit. And it's like, yeah, there wasn't in my young, early 20-something, like, I didn't know how to make a space for myself or how to find a bathroom, you know, as it were. And so thankfully over the years, like this is not recurring for me, certainly not in that way. I mean, I would dream that like really regularly. Now though, and this is one of the gifts of dreams, particularly when we're tracking with them, now when it does come up, and that might happen like once or twice a year, it is a cue. It's a very concrete cue. You know, what is happening where you are being intruded on? And so often those intrusions, you know, it's easy to be aggressive or angry about the person that's doing the intruding. The reality is I am part of how much space I'm making for the other or how much. And so like that dance around all the pieces of that, how we are actively creating and protecting our own bathroom, our own internal bathroom.
Yes.
It's important.
Yes.
It's needed.
That's right. Claiming space for the messiness, you know, I conceptualize it as like the kind of shadowy aspects of myself that I'm working through that I maybe don't want somebody else to necessarily see, but that maybe being comfortable and okay with like, if somebody sees this, it's fine because this is what I need.
And this is just where I am.
This is just like the reality of being a human being. I'm going to give you a quote, and you might be familiar with this, especially because you were in analysis, but this is from Marion Woodman.
Oh, yes. Yes.
One of Carl Jung's like main contemporaries, students. And she says, the more I force myself to perfect my ideal image of myself, the more overflowing toilet bowls I'm going to have in my dreams. And that's from her book, Addiction to Perfection.
Oh, yes.
Which part of the central thesis of that book is that the byproduct of the kind of patriarchal emphasis on perfection.
Oh, sure.
Is at the root of all of so many of our quote unquote addictions.
Oh, yeah.
Including the addiction to perfection. It's actually an addiction to that masculine principle that we were talking about earlier.
Sure.
No space for complexity and messiness.
When you're naming the pieces about messiness, like I'm thinking about as certainly as like a young like baby therapist, young clinician, it can be such an orientation toward, you know, being the, not just the good enough mother, but like the perfect mother.
Absolutely. To
these humans that we're working diligently to love and care for. And it's like the patriarchal setup there. I mean, this is also true in parenthood, of course. But the patriarchal setup as though perfection of any kind is ever possible, but also as though it would ever be helpful. Like no patient, no client, no beloved friend, no partner, no child is ever going to be served by some cleaned up, buttoned up, perfect version.
I feel that.
Yeah.
That was a lot of my struggle in early motherhood was I was being sold, primarily at the time via social media, sold this idea that like optimization of your baby was possible and that you just had to get the right strategy, which you could buy, by the way.
Of course.
You could buy it at 3 a.m.
You could.
When you were desperately trying to get your baby to sleep.
Absolute
Yeah,
desperation.
don't worry. Just click right here.
We got this.
Pay this fee. And here comes your guide for optimizing your baby.
Yeah.
And
your motherhood. And
your
experience of motherhood.
Optimizing your orientation to motherhood.
Yes.
And thereby optimizing your baby. And it was just so damaging.
It's so painful.
Yeah. And so as I sit with this juxtaposition between these sort of patriarchal capitalist ideals that we are fighting against, right? That we are resisting, I can see the reflection in these dreams of like, yeah, I need to be able to have space for myself to be good enough, to use your term, to be good enough. Good enough is plenty.
It's plenty.
I'm just so curious, like genuinely about this within your like the longevity of your therapy practice, Heather, because frankly, I do sometimes have conversations with myself about like, can I sustain this like long term? Will I be able to sustain this long term? And so part of what I'm hearing from you, even just right now in this conversation in real time, is that you've had this gift of experience of being an analysis, meaning having a therapeutic encounter that is like frequent and regular that like most of us aren't going to get. And that you have these like really long-standing, deep relationships with clients that last up to like 20 plus years, right? And so I'm just so curious, as someone with that type of longevity, both like in your internal work and your external work, what feeds that for you? How do you maintain that? Or what contributes to that?
I feel like in this season, I am kind of coming into asking some new questions about what will the next 25 years be? It's, of course, really interesting to start out a career at such a young age because I have lots of years ahead of me, and I have been at this work in different iterations, of course, but I mean, pretty much just this, like as
in terms of like
career, for this amount of time. I think I am a deeply relational person. And so like my connections are very real and very strong. I value loving and being loved more than anything else. And I feel very like deeply loyal in my connections. That's part of the longevity is like, I do not go into and have not gone into this work flippantly. I have also seen the mutuality that's present in long-term work with humans that I love, deeply care for, and they love and deeply care for me. You know, like there is a being with that I think is very mutual. One thing that I'm working with now, like at this age and stage, like my current developmental task, I guess, is like, I am sad about the state of this world where at times I feel kind of sheepish about like, in air quotes, being a therapist. The fact that we have to have therapy, that this is how people get tended to, is really painful to me. Like that is the setup. That's the setup in the culture. That's as good as it gets. And by the way, for anybody that has ever looked for a therapist, good luck. Like good luck finding somebody, good luck getting people to respond to you, good luck paying for this. It is so sad. And so I feel at times like sad and sheepish to be affiliated with a system that feels real capitalist and is what we've done to make up for a collapsing infrastructure that's been toxic from the get-go. So, with that said, it's like my longevity is connected to my passion and loyalty for people. I also feel deeply curious about like what's next in terms of what just I personally want to be part of in this world, like what I want to be part of building. It feels really uncertain, and it's a place of a lot of like deep inquiry at the moment for me, and tenderness.
It's just really honest. And I feel very similarly in terms of just trying to stay engaged with my internal sense of like, where is this all going? What is next?
Yeah.
How do I be of service and remain in service to myself?
Yes.
And when I hear you say that you are deeply loyal to humans, like that really struck a chord for me in terms of what keeps drawing me back into this work is just like this sense that there will be greater than ever need to remain engaged and connected, like human to human.
Yes. Yeah. That is only feeling more and more and more true.
Pressing.
Pressing.
Yeah.
Yes.
I feel that too. And so hopefully that can be part of the like North Star guiding principle.
Yes. I think
no
it
one
must
knows
be.
what's ahead.
I think it must be. And I feel like in conversations like this, these seeds that get planted feel so hopeful and generative to me.
Thank you for saying that.
Yes.
That's why I keep showing up.
Oh, same.
Keep doing it. I love what you said about your therapist that you were in analysis with being like an internal figure for you too.
Yes.
Like that's so powerful and incredible. What a gift. What a special bond.
Uh-huh.
I feel like as a therapist, you're like, that's the dream.
Oh, yes.
Is that we remain connected in that way.
And
even when the work ends.
Well, and I feel like that is like, you know, I'm speaking to at times these like existential questions about with the world collapsing in various ways, like I'm so sad about like this therapeutic structure that certainly is not enough.
Yeah.
And like I would not have been being engaged with this work for as long as I've been engaged with it if I didn't see the value of like, yeah, it is pretty messed up that this is often how we find internal help. And it's a way that we find internal help. It's something, and that is something that I've also been loyal to.
Beautiful. If there's anything else that you want to share or feel called to share, but also really would love it if you can just give listeners a sense of like where they can find you if they want to engage with your work, how they can do that in any way that you want to share.
I think and we're kind of already here, so that feels natural. But I do feel so heartened and energized by our conversation and feel the value again in finding connection in these ways. It feels like little like part of a net that can hold us. At the moment, I literally have like an absence of social media presence.
Yeah, okay.
That is something that I stepped out of somewhere, it was like 2020-ish. I do have my little WhatsApp advice column. I think that's probably the best entry point. I'm curious about where that might go or where that might evolve. Again, at the moment, it's like real low tech. And that feels, I think, really not overwhelming for anyone. Those that give questions, those that listen to responses, and me. So,
like very low tech, very low pressure.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
And so the idea is that if folks want to engage with that, they can, we'll link to this, of course, but so they can join your WhatsApp channel, right? Forgive me, I don't even know the correct language.
They would find me on WhatsApp.
Yes.
I would link them to it.
Yes. They can just present an anonymous question.
Yes. And then one of the things that people really seem to appreciate is like there isn't crosstalk in this chat. Like
Yeah.
it's literally just question, response. So you choose what to listen to or you don't listen. Literally, there's no pressure to like have a response, or it's real low cost entry. Like there's zero at
Sounds
the moment.
amazing.
So yes, it's very fun over there.
Yes.
Yeah.
And like you said, a space that is just safe and generative for everybody involved.
Yeah.
Love that. More of that, please.
I know.
Yes.
Right.
So yes, we will definitely make sure that listeners have their links and channels
Sure,
to get there.
of course.
Heather, thank you so much for being here.
You are so welcome. I loved it.
I feel so, like you said, just energized, fed, hopeful. And we'll take that.
Absolutely. Wherever we can get it, honey.
We'll take a little hope, baby. Thank you again. Yes. Appreciate you so much. Heather Cooper Sellers. Love ya.
Thank you, honey.
Thanks for being here. That's a wrap for this episode. Thank you again to my guest, Heather Cooper Sellers. We'll see you back here next month with another amazing guest. If you want more Psyche Magic, be sure to check out the Psyche Magic Salon on Substack. There you'll find all full and bonus episode archives for the podcast, as well as my weekly written newsletter with magical musings and recommendations for sources of creative inspiration. You'll also find the recorded version of our salon ritual to invoke creative flow. That's psychemagic.substack.com. If you haven't already, please take a moment now to subscribe, rate, and review us on your podcast app of choice. It really makes a difference and helps other people find the show. We hope you'll also follow along with our shenanigans on Instagram and TikTok at Psyche Magic Podcast. Psyche Magic was produced and recorded by me, Jordan Hale. Editing for this episode is by Masuzu Inaga. Our theme music is by Young Summer. Artwork is by Annika Murphy. Special thanks go to Daniel Higbee, Grace Fuse, and Michael McMillan. Thank you so much for listening. I'll leave you with a question. If you must sleep through a third of your life, are you willing to sleep through your dreams too? Get your dream journals out, y'all. Until next time.